everyone. Welcome to the Game Changers She Talks, brought to you by Credit Suisse. I'm Yvonne Chan. In 2015, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development as the agreed framework for international development, and it includes 17 objectives and goals to end hunger, poverty, inequality, and tackle climate change. In this video, we shine the spotlight on Goal 5, gender equality, and Goal 2, zero hunger. Now, equality between women and men is critical to the implementation of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals on ending hunger, achieving food security, and improving agricultural production. Estimates show that if women worldwide had the same access to productive resources and opportunities as men, they could increase yields on their farms by about 30%, which could raise total agricultural output and lift more than 100 million people out of hunger. Now, I would like to introduce you to Cherrie Atilano today, a compassionate female entrepreneur who has made it her life's work to empower the farmers of the Philippines. Cherrie is the founding farmer, CEO, and president of AGREA Agricultural Systems International, Inc. It's a for-purpose and inclusive business that is creating the first replicable one-island economy that is zero hunger, zero waste, and zero insufficiency through an ecology of dignity approach. She is also a firm believer in bringing more women into agriculture, with 50% of the enrollees at AGREA's farm school being female. And with AGREA, she aims to help eradicate poverty for farming and fishing families and establish food security in the Philippines. Hi, Cherrie. It's wonderful to have you in studio with me today. You don't often see and hear of a young, glamorous CEO like yourself calling herself a farmer. Now, tell us about the story behind this, Cherrie.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. What a pleasant day to have you also. I call myself a farmer. It's actually a bold statement in the process. It's because a lot of people, when you say farmer, these are like the poorest of the poor, where, it's kind of like left behind kind of scenario. So for me, I said, I've been dedicating myself to this endeavor for more than 2 decades. And I said, I call myself a farmer. I need to make farming sexy, glamorous. It's because it's time to change the narrative of agriculture, not only in the Philippines, but in the world. And at the same time, we need to dignify our farmers because for me, it's such a crime against humanity that the food producers, the farmers and the fisher folks are the poorest and the hungriest, and most of the time not respected. So I want to put a statement out there that the farmer, they're the most important. They're the backbone of our economy and the backbone of every food on the plate in our table every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned, making farming sexy again, and I couldn't think of a better spokesperson than yourself. And you also did raise a really important point about, bringing respect back to this particular profession. So can you explain to us what ecology of dignity means?
Ecology of dignity, it's such a metaphoric statement on really saying that how can we build dignity across the value chain? It's not only the people who are consuming the food, but more importantly, are we aware of the people producing the food? Are we aware of the lives of our farmers? Are we thinking that every time they produce something, do they have food on their table? Are their children in school? Do they have roof on their heads? And this ecology of dignity, it's actually also building respect to our environment because in agriculture is both food creation and income generation. The moment we forget that food is our umbilical cord to Mother Earth, that entire ecology should be dignified. And if we neglect that fact that the food is our umbilical cord to Mother Earth, it's so easy for us to destroy nature for our food consumption and income generation. So there must be a balance of really dignifying the ecology of human being as the center of our solutions in the agriculture sector and in the food systems, but more importantly, a real cost on protecting our planet at the same time.
Food as the umbilical cord to Mother Nature. I've never really thought about it that way, but that's actually a really apt description, Cherrie. So how do you think sustainable farming practices can really contribute to combating malnutrition?
For me, I've been an ambassador for malnutrition, not only in the Philippines, but in the world because of my work in the UN. We're actually working in the scaling up nutrition movement, covering 63 countries all over the world. And most of these countries are suffering severe malnutrition. it's really going to be about building the entire food supply chain coming from our own soil and healthy soil to build our own nutrition at home. I think at the end of the day, food is still the best medicine more than anything else.
Yeah.
So it's really going back to that recognition that if food is our medicine, the process of making food should be sustainable. It should respect nature. It should respect our body in the first place. Whatever you intake, it makes you. So that's very important that in building your nutrition, you know where your food is coming from.
I'm very interested to find out more about your baby, AGREA, right? What sort of impact has AGREA achieved in alleviating hunger and achieving food security in the Philippines so far?
So it's such a journey, Yvonne. I know that I'm in a male-dominated industry. I've been here for 23 years. It's always like you're climbing a wall, pushing some policies to be changed, pushing some private, and commercialization to be changed. So right now we're influencing around 30,000 smallholder farmers in the Philippines. When I say smallholder farmers, these are farmers with 1 hectare or half a hectare of land where every intervention you give to them, they're betting their entire livelihood. So if you miss or if you fail in your intervention, they lost food on their table and they also lost income for their family. So when we set up the farm school, it actually make all our interventions holistic. In our farm school, we teach farmers how to do values formation. We teach them how to dream. We teach them how to be grateful in what they have in life. We also teach them sustainable agricultural ways in production that is, developing technologies that are not intimidating. That even the farmers with no read nor write, they can actually understand the technology and they can apply it in their fields. And lastly, we're encouraging them to learn financial literacy, especially the women in the farming communities, because they're the one budgeting at home. They're the ones usually like having a headache, what to put on their table. And so we teach them on financial literacy. And lastly, we're also engaging their children, the youth, especially when they're 18 years old. We're teaching them agri-entrepreneurship.
It's wonderful sharing there, Cherrie. I just want to very quickly ask you, right, because 50% of the enrollees in AGREA's farm school are women. What was the reception like to what was being taught to them? You're teaching them farm tourism, agri-tech. What was the feedback?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's actually, when we started it, it was a struggle. We go to every farming community just to really encourage the women to enroll in our farm school. And then what happened to that, though, we listened to them. What do you want to learn? Because if we are imposing the learning modules that we want them to learn, it will not have a buy-in. So what we did is we listened to them. We asked them what you want to learn, what you want to gain, so that you can bring it back home, you can help your family, you can fulfill your dream of sending your children to school. So from that listening, we design our curriculum so that a lot of these women will also be our ambassadors to recruit more women. So what happened to that is we focus on what we want to do. So we do like food processing, where a lot of women, they love cooking. We do organic gardening for their backyard so that they have organic vegetables accessible the moment they go out of their house. And lastly, we're really training them to become farmer scientists. A lot of our women are the ones going on the fields and teaching more women to be more effective in the agri-production. And also another one is the financial literacy is very effective because I think if you have little income and you're so dependent to that, most of the time you just want to, crack your head on how to make meet ends, right?
It certainly sounds like it. I really like the term farm scientist. That's so interesting. Earlier on, you did say that this is such a male-dominated industry, right? Farming. So there is that myth that women play a very minor role in the food supply chain. So how can we debunk such an argument today, Cherrie?
I don't believe in that myth, Yvonne. I've been debunking it for more than 20 years. So my job is to really uplift more women in the process. And I can see this happening, that the women I have been uplifting for more than 20 years are right now uplifting more women. Because the women, they are the invisible force and the invisible voices, are composing half of the population of the world. and consisting more than 50% of the food producers in the world also. But more than that, I believe in investing in women because investing in women is an investment in the entire community. In my experience going to farming communities in rural areas in the Philippines, the moment you empower one woman, that woman will empower a village, and that village will empower an entire city or entire town.
It's like a fantastic ripple effect, isn't it? I mean, how do you think women entrepreneurs differ from their male counterparts within food systems? I mean, you alluded to some of their advantages a bit earlier on, but how can we get more women in the driving seat to help improve the food system's ability to deliver nutritious food?
Yeah, I think, food systems, it needs a lot of systems thinking and inclusiveness to start with. Food systems, you're tackling all living things, animals, crops, and human beings to feed, right? So it needs a lot of nurturing. And women are great nurturers. So you need them to be there from production to bringing food in their table. But more importantly, I also wish that there will be more male champions to actually support these women to thrive. It's because what I observe in the farming communities and even in my work in ambassadorial work in the United Nations, every time I go to other countries, every time I see a woman, I sit and I ask a question.
What do you
So
ask?
I ask like, what's your dream in life? And very simple. This woman, very simple but very powerful dream. I want to bring nutritious food for my family. I want my children to be healthy. That's the foundation of life. That's the foundation of our economy. And I said, but how do you know how to achieve your dream? That's my second question. And she said, I still actually don't know. Hopefully, there are resources out there that would believe to invest in women, empower women economically, empower women in capacity building, but more importantly, educate women because education is really a tool to progress them, to uplift them from poverty and unleash their potential to be game changers in their own fields.
I want to also talk to you about the very current situation right now, the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that has really deepened existing vulnerabilities, hasn't it, within the food and market systems that you talked about. And it's also really reinforced the need for more nuanced responses that really address the risks and opportunities that are related to gender equality and social inclusion within these systems. Cherrie, from your work, how has COVID-19 affected the women within the food systems in Asia? What have you observed?
So Yvonne, during this pandemic, my company, AGREA, has been there nonstop helping our smallholder farmers because we have 30,000 of them. The silver lining of this, I must say, is women are so empowered to go out there to solve this crisis. Unfortunately, though, some of the policies are still unfriendly for them. So we're still, really lobbying for the policies that if women are really giving a chance to be mostly bankable from being unbankable, if women are giving a chance for investments, they could have done beyond and can survive this pandemic with flying colors. And lastly, we've been doing a lot of work with women in urban gardening because, in the Philippines, I live in Metro Manila. We have 12.8 million people in this mega city. And most of the women we work in the slum areas or informal settler areas are now doing urban gardening because they said we lost our jobs and there's no way we can lose the food, the source of food for our children. So we're doing a lot of urban gardenings in informal settlers and, poorest of the poor in the urban of Metro Manila. And these are women leaders going out their way and saying, before I used to work as a masseuse in a spa, now I'm a proud urban gardener. I'm a proud mother that we can grow our own food and my children are not having difficulty surviving this pandemic.
How else do you think we can promote long-term transformation, Cherrie, and really build back better for a more resilient and gender and socially inclusive food system?
Yeah, for me, we really need to unleash the potential of women in the food system. They contribute to more than 50% of our food in the world. but a lot of support systems should be established. For example, the financial support system is one. Another one is capacity building programs, especially on educating them on proper technologies in production, proper technologies in cooking healthy food, proper technologies in doing simple agribusiness and food processing. And, empowering them is always a work that all of us should do. And hopefully, a lot of male champions will support them as well.
So I want to know what's next on your agenda. What goal do you have you set for AGREA in the next decade?
Oh wow, that's question I've been waiting to be asked. I really dream that in the next decade, it's the work that we do will be replicated not only in the Philippines but also to other countries, especially in Southeast Asia. I've been visiting a lot of places in Southeast Asia, and the work we do in AGREA, because we're developing every island to be sustainable, right? So
Right.
that a lot of people will see opportunities and stay in the island instead of coming in mega cities and adding in the congestion and traffic and pollution. So what we're trying to do is to replicate our model, especially our farm school, into other countries, and also make our farm school into a digital platform so that it's accessible to the world, because there are a lot of inquiries happening around that. And
Mm.
lastly also is, we want to be a company that is known to be an agribusiness with a heart.
An
It means
agribusiness with a heart. Tell us more.
that it will inspire more people and more companies in the agriculture sector that food is not about a commodity. We should not make money out of hunger, but
Mm.
food is a human right. Food is a right of everyone to have. And as business people, it is our right to bring nutritious food to them that are affordable, accessible, and culturally appropriate.
Do you have any advice for women who look up to you and who also want to make a mark in their advocacies? Because you've clearly made a mark in agriculture.
I want to share the advice that my mom, who inspired me to start everything, advised to me. She was telling me when I was 6 years old, she was telling me that the shortest distance in life is the distance between your head and your heart. The moment you know to connect that distance, you find yourself not successful, but you'll find yourself more successful because you are significant and you are relevant. And always follow where your heart is going. And for me, I'm so blessed. I think I found my passion and life mission at a very early age of 12 to be in the agriculture sector. So for all the women out there, be in the agriculture sector, find your role model. Find a role model that you want to become, you want to mentor you, and also find a cause you want to belong in the entire food systems.
Mm.
Whatever you do in affecting our food systems, it may be in nutrition, in food processing, in plant breeding, it contributes so much to humanity because, as I mention all the time, feeding people is the most essential business, and it is also the most essential advocacy to live.
So find your role model, find a cause that speaks to your heart, follow your heart. And I think it's fantastic, Cherrie, that you've also really set up an agribusiness with a heart, right? And you're absolutely right. Food is a right for all, and we shouldn't be making money out of hunger. And really, it's been absolutely inspiring hearing from you today, Cherrie. Thank you so much for all your wonderful insights.
Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thank you, Cherrie. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. You've been watching the Game Changers She Talks, brought to you by Credit Suisse. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.